Everything look good? Give me a loud complaint if you can't see. So it should say, see the slide says website content strategy. I'm talk specifically about websites today. So I am a dad. I have lots of dad jokes, and there's a few dad joke cartoons in this presentation. So you're warned. So the first question is, does everybody need a website? Especially if you're starting a new venture today, do you have to have a website? Of course you do. I wouldn't be a website guy if I didn't tell you needed a website. But I do want to explain, there's I split websites into two basic categories. Everybody needs a basic website, regardless of what your business is. Actually, most of my clients I still meet in person, get them through networking or Zoom presentations. But when you make those contacts, people still go look at your website to see, do you have credibility? Are you legitimate? So you want to make sure you have something there that says who you are, you look professional, ways to contact you. You can have some testimonials, maybe even your resume, but it just really establishes your credibility. So every business, probably every person, if you don't have your own business, should start establishing that web presence. My website's actually michaeldaehn.com. So I've worked for different companies over the years, but I've always kept my name. So that's something to think about, at least grabbing your name, and it's a big part of even branding yourself. But everybody needs that basic website. But then there's also the next level with your websites, and I call like a pro website, professional website. And that's when you're really using your website to get new business and nurture leads. So, you know, these aren't necessarily people you're meeting in person through other channels. They're finding you online because that's the way you're using your website. And then also putting some of that advanced automated marketing, automated email campaigns into that. So the study I found says more than 80% of people look at products and services online before they purchase. So it's part of the sales journey. It's part of the customer journey. It's part of the sales cycle today that people are going to look at your website. And the study goes on to say that the majority of those people still buy in person. So you might not even realize the value of your website, because you don't, especially if it's a basic website, you might not even realize people are going and checking you out and then coming back and hiring you. Even, you know, retail like Target, a lot of people will go look at a Target website and then go buy in the store. So the website is definitely a key component. And yes, everybody needs a website. So because of that, today I'm talking about the website content funnel. So this is going to be more for that professional website. What do we put on that website that we're able to convert people? And this is, you know, I spent many hours putting this graphic together, this triangle. So I hope you appreciate it. But yeah, just trying to simplify the process. There's different types of content at each level of the funnel. If you're familiar with the sales funnel, you know, it's wide at the top, lots of people, but ultimately you want to get people into your sales funnel that end up becoming customers. So obviously we got the top. So what kind of content do we have at the top? We're going to have things like blog posts, articles, just page content. What do you have on your homepage? What do you have on your about page? Maybe some videos and things like that. Just make sure all this content is very relevant to your message and is guiding people towards the bottom of the funnel, which is ultimately what you want them to do on your website. I'm going to go into more detail on that in a minute. So let's see some examples. It's my website, top of the funnel content, articles. So these are articles that are free to read. And these are the kind of things, they're not really selling me. They're not selling my business. They're providing good, helpful information for businesses. And this is the type of thing that people are going to find on Google. People type questions into Google. They type price wars or how to win a price war. That's the question they type in. And because I have this content on my website, they're more likely to find my website and come in the top of the funnel. Now, from here, I want to try to lead them into becoming a customer, but this is how you use top of the funnel content to get people to find your website. Then a blog, you know, blog is not my favorite word. It's kind of weird, but we're stuck with it. So have a blog, call it a blog. This is one of my clients. He's a chiropractor and he churns out the content. He churns out the articles and things like that. So he does really well creating this top of the funnel content. And then this is a new service I just launched, and actually I need to pitch it to JJ. I have a marketing book, and I wrote it like 15 years ago, and you can download it on my website. But what I did was I broke it up into blog posts. I went through the book, and each section I turned into individual blog posts. And so the way things work on the internet and SEO, the more pages you have in your website, the more information, the more keywords, the more likely you are to show up on search engines like Google. So I've wanted to do this for a long time, but it's a bit monotonous to turn your book into blog posts. And my 12-year-old son is working for me a couple hours a week. I'm like, hey, here's something. I could set him up with a template. He can copy and paste. And he started putting all these blog posts together. And then I went and looked at my web traffic, and it had tripled. And just the first month, I started adding these blog posts. So this is a great way for yourself. I doubt many of you so far have written a book, but books are a great way to market yourself. And if you do make a book, make sure you put all that content and even break it up into blog posts for your website. Okay, so the next phase is the middle of the funnel. And this is where this is going to be a little bit higher level content, more focused. So this is things like ebooks. So I have my books on my website, or a guide or checklist, class. You can offer an online class, or just really any kind of offer. But this is going to be something valuable, and you're going to ask for someone's email address to get this. That way you're able to continue to nurture that lead later on and do some automated campaigns and follow up with them and really start to build that relationship with them. Also, when we have this top of the funnel content, we always want to lead it into the next thing. So if someone reads a blog post, you might say, hey, if you like this blog post, maybe check out this class, or maybe ask people to get a free consultation, go right to the bottom of the funnel. So look at some examples. I have all my books are available for free. I mean, I sell them on Amazon, but if you come to my website, I just ask your email address. So this is called gating content. So I'm putting a gate there with content. So when you do that, make sure it's something valuable. So this is over $100 worth of books. I think that's worth your email address, because email addresses are worth something too. So make sure whatever content you're putting there, it's valuable, it's worth something, so you're more likely to get people to sign up for it, and you're also more likely to have people be satisfied with the content that you're giving them. But of course, once you download this, I get your email address, and then I send some follow-up emails with content and kind of nurturing you and trying to get you to actually eventually get a consultation with me, hire me, because in the end, that's what we're doing all this for, is to make money. And the goal of our website is to make money. Some other middle of the funnel content. One of my clients, he has a home inspection, does home inspections. So I built his site, and I said, you're asking people to set an appointment, but what about people who are coming and looking around? Let's have some middle of the funnel content. I said, can you write something like for people that are going to sell their house or whatever? He's like, oh, I already got one of those. So we grabbed his guide, just a simple sign up form on his website. And then we built an automated follow-up email campaign on there, and says, hey, don't forget tip number 2, paint the exterior, whatever, I don't remember. But then it goes into, and if you need a home inspection, make sure you contact us. So these are for people that, you might have 1 million people visit your website, but if they don't do that business with you right away and they leave, you don't know who they are. So this is a way to have something in the middle. They're on your website, they're interested in what you have to say, but they're not quite ready to buy yet. So this is a way to stay in touch with them, stay in contact with them, and nurture that lead. And then on my website, one of the things I have, and this has actually become the most popular thing on my website, is it's called the 8-hour marketing plan. And it's, like 8 one-hour lessons, and it helps you put together a marketing plan for your business. And, I try a lot of different things. I have a ton of content on my site. And so I added this, and I started looking at the analytics, and this is like the #1 most visited area of my website now. And it's gotten out there. And to be honest, I'm not even sure how this got picked up on, or someone posted it somewhere, but I'm getting a lot of traffic for people taking this course. And again, I just ask for your email address to take the course, and I add you to my newsletter list and some automated campaigns. Popovers. So again, this is from my website. Once you've been on my website for, you scroll down about halfway, this little popover comes up and asks if you want a free website audit. Well, I'll look at your website, give you some tips. Popovers are a good way to present your middle of the funnel content. They're annoying. Nobody likes them, but they work. So that's why we use popovers. So another client, I build sites on Squarespace. He actually has a WordPress site, but I also use Mailchimp, and we're able to add this little Mailchimp popover to his website. Again, I just said, hey, we need this content. Can you 7 window cleaning tips? He's like, oh, sure, I can do that. Put it together, put this nice guide together for people. And of course, you download it, you get the follow-up email campaigns. This gentleman, IRS tax attorney, he has tons of content, tons of top of the funnel content on his website. Lots of traffic, great SEO. But I just said, you don't have any middle of the funnel content. People are either reading the stuff and leaving, and then a few will trickle through and set an appointment with you and hire you. What about those people that are in between? So we actually took his most popular article, which again, we just looked at his analytics. This was his most popular article. So we turned it into a guide, and he didn't want to annoy people with popovers, which I understand. So what we did is when people exhibit exit behavior on the website, meaning they go towards the back button or the address button, they're leaving your site. So it says, hey, before you go, be sure to get this free guide. This asks for the email address and has some follow-up campaigns that go out behind that. And again, the campaigns, you don't want to be annoying with it. They're reinforcing the message. Hey, don't forget this tip and that tip, and let us know if you need help. Very friendly. And ultimately, you're trying to get people to the bottom of the funnel because that's where we get paid. That's where they become customers. That is where they convert. So bottom of the funnel, primary call to action. So the most important question about your website is, what do you want people to do? So I'm working with clients. Most of the people I work with already have a website, and I'm just kind of going through and helping them optimize it for conversion, optimizing it for people to do a call to action. Because a lot of websites don't have that. It's like, well, the designer told me to put on my social media profiles at the top, and we have a picture of a tree and a picture of a river, and there's a video of me talking about myself. It's like, okay, that's that's all nice and that's content, but it's not really driving people towards your main call to action, which is going to be different for different people. It might be buying a product if it's e-commerce, might be filling out a form, which that's mine. I want you to get a free consultation. Some it might be a video if they're like informational or educational or entertainment, or it might be to start a trial. I work for a software company, and we had a big budget. We had a ton of content, spent a lot on our website, and we didn't sell anything. We were just trying to get people into a free trial. And that, whatever that is, becomes your primary call to action. That's what you want people to do. So again, on my website, bottom of the funnel is get a free consultation. I want people to fill out this form. This is a health clinic that I go to, and the design is really not bad, but like I'm saying, there's a picture here. It's like, okay, whatever, and learn more. So most of what I did was like focus the site on a call to action, which is, book an appointment. Because that's what you, if you're a clinic, that's what you need people to do. You need to book an appointment. You don't need them to be like surfing around, learning all this stuff. That's okay. Like I said, that's top of the funnel that can help people, get to know who you are. But ultimately, we want that main call to action, and it should be a button that's telling people, this is what you need to do. This is why you're on my website. And guys, that's what I do. That's what I'm good at. I'm not good with all the graphics and stuff like that. I can do basic things. Most of the time I get that from the clients. What I'm good at is saying, okay, you've got this great website, but what do you want people to do? How are we converting people? And I've worked with people that have the most beautiful websites, great graphics, videos, images, and they spent thousands of dollars on it, but it never tells people what to do. It just has a lot of, hey, you can go here, you can go there, watch this video of me talking about myself and walk around my office. But that's not really the point of your site. This is an insurance guy. You know, obviously the design was a little out of date, but the main thing is we want people to get a free quote. You know, right there, get a free quote. This is what we want people to do. Don't have too many call to actions. So I don't think this site's in existence anymore, and it's from like 2010. But you know, every blue line is a link, and really links are an action that you can take as well. So your guess is as good as mine as to what the purpose of the site is and where the designer really wants you to go. How do they make their money? How do they? It's just like a million places that you can click. So you definitely don't have too many CTAs. And if you can, really try to have one. Like, know what you want. If you don't know what you want people to do when they visit your site, they're not going to know either. So tell people what you need them to do. So again, my website, call to action. It's the same call to action. Now it's interspersed throughout. My monitor's turned off here. Now it's interspersed throughout my site, but this button's always in the header. It's always in the footer, and it'll be in some of the in-page content.
Yeah, Michael, one thing that I would suggest, and I believe you'll confirm it, is we're, as consumers and as users of websites, we become increasingly sophisticated and impatient. And so when we go to a website, typically we're looking for something. And I think the term browse, by the way, is really old fashioned, because there was a time where people would just browse around. Well, no, people go to your website, they want to be informed, they want to buy a product, they want to do something. And if they don't see what they want, what are they going to do? They're going to bounce. And so
Yep.
a simple call to action, a site that says, here's how I can help you. It's kind of bare bones in a way, but I think that fits us better as users of
Yep.
websites today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's the sites they have a lot of similarities as far as this conversion, but you know, they're a little bit different depending on the client. But yeah, I mean, get a free quote. Even like you could be half blind and not read this. You know where you're supposed to click. You're supposed to click on this button. And the way I will do the site too is like very quickly say what you do and have that primary call to action. Now, as you scroll down, you can see this is cut off here. We have testimonials. If people keep scrolling and they want for more information, they do want to browse, fine, you can keep going. But right up front is, you know, this is what you can do. It's kind of like going to Target and you got your cart full and you're going to check out. And they're like, hey, before you check out, watch this video about how great Target is and all the stuff you can buy here. It's like, no, you know, make it real, have that easy checkout, have it very easy for people to do business with you. But then surround that and support it with other information if they're not quite sure yet and they need some convincing. But yeah, so that primary call to action, that bottom of the funnel should be very clear everywhere on your website. This is why you're here. This is what I want you to do. I have other things here to convince you that you should click on that button, but that is why you're here. That's what I need you to do. And of course, buttons work. So when you have that call to action, I know it sounds basic, but make sure it's a button. And again, doing a lot of people's websites, they don't have it. And I've written or read a lot of research about buttons. I know it sounds boring, but read like 15-page research studies on buttons and button colors. But the most important thing is you should have a button, a call to action button, and that button should be high contrast in your colors, meaning it stands out on your site. So there's some argument of, well, don't have a red button because that means stop, and yellow means caution, and green means go. So they're going to want to do that. Honestly, I've looked at different studies on that. The most important thing is that your button stands out. It's high contrast. So like my website, and because I want to promote this too, it's grayscale, for crying out loud. I mean, I don't recommend this for everybody. But my website is grayscale, and these buttons just stand out because they're bright red. Even my logo, you can see behind me, it's grayscale with that pop of red to get people's attention. So it doesn't have to be red, but whatever that button is, just make sure it's high contrast and stands out on your site, and you'll be doing well. So if you have a website, I always ask people, do you have a call to action button? If you don't, you better call me. I even made these little buttons and said, hey, here's a button for your jacket, and you need a CTA button for your website too. So I'll give you this one now, and if you need one for your website, let me know. Okay, so just reviewing, we have our website content funnel. And again, an example on my website, I have very clean navigation. There's only 4 choices, but under resources, this is all content, and it goes into different places in the funnel. So if you want to take my class, I do ask for your email address. You can read articles, you can read blogs. My books ask for your email address. So it's alphabetical, so it's not really by where it is in the funnel, but all this is meant to be the proper website content, which is establishing me as an expert and hopefully getting customers to go towards that primary call to action. So we're talking a lot about content and making sure we have the right content. So we want to target the right people with the right content. So we're saying content. Well, what is it? What do I do? What do I talk about? What do I write about? And that's when you got to talk, you need to know your customer so that you can build content that's going to appeal to them. And to be honest with you, as a marketing person, marketing is very hard to market. It's something I've struggled with. And even as a consultant, I'm a marketing consultant, and I really started narrowing it down to, okay, I'm the website guy. Because I'm usually working on people's websites anyway, and then I can be more focused about what I talk about, and I can have a conversation with people about websites because, like, oh yeah, I know what that is. If I just say marketing, it's very generic. But even like with that, that new product I have, Blog Your Book, that's very specific niche audience of people that have already published a book, nonfiction book, and are entrepreneurs. And I'm actually excited about having a very target audience I can go after and speak to, because in general for marketing that can be difficult.
Hey, Michael, here's a
Yes.
suggestion. As I've written 4 books, okay? And the first book I wrote took about 6 months of curating information, rewriting it, etc. Right? My second book was harvesting my blogs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in reverse order. So
Yep.
I actually continued the theme. I marketed my first book by blogging, and I turned around and I had a couple hundred blogs. And
Yep.
so I ended up consolidating and picking the best blogs, and that became my second book, Deja Vu Marketing, available on Amazon.com. But I mean, so you hear what I'm saying? You can go both ways, and so unequivocally, blogging is what made my book successful. Now, it was some time ago, I will admit, but just feedback for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my books is the same way. It was a blog. I said I'm gonna do a blog post every day. I'll have 360 posts, and then I'm gonna turn it into a book. Now I only had 188 business tips was the name of the book or the blog. So I didn't quite hit my goal of 365, but I still had 188, and it was actually one of my bigger books. So yeah, that's actually a great technique. And there's actually a lot of people out there recommending. There's programs that help you do it. And so even researching this, anything I look for doing it the other way, I couldn't even doing Google searches. I couldn't find anything. I'm going like page after page. So it's people like me, like I didn't write that book that way, but I had this book with all its content just sitting there. People can't visit your book, but they can visit your website. So again, it's very niche, but it's people that you're right. That is a good way to write a book. But if you've already written one and it's just sitting there, I can show you how to do it. Or if you want to hire me because you don't feel like copying and pasting everything in there, I could take all that content and then really supercharge your website with it. So as far as, focusing our content on our website on our target market, obviously this looks like some of the marketing meetings I've been in. Who are we targeting? Everybody. Okay, that's not really that's not really targeting an audience. So a technique for this is to create customer personas. So this is very specific people, and you might have done this for some of your projects, but trying to be as specific as you can about who you're targeting. This was actually one of my customers, my client's golf swapper, and we're putting together a business plan. So we're like, well, let's do some research. And I found a lot of free research from the PGA. It was pretty nice. And the PGA actually had 8 personas, and we took 4 of those and kind of modified them for his business. But yeah, as much as you can, if you can have pictures, real pictures, they could be cartoon people. But when you have this in place, it helps you create the content that's going to appeal to your main personas. So this is Value Victor, and again, you don't have to get this detailed, but if you can, it's actually helpful. We also took these personas and gave them to some people. He was hiring people to write content for him. So part of what content writers will do is ask you all these questions. Well, we'd already done all this research and just looking at, well, what kind of content is going to attract them? Like what kind of blog posts and keywords and, using social media, like all these things. And then once they're on the site, and again, we're trying to appeal to this particular guy, Value Victor. We know how we targeting an age and his income. Again, it doesn't mean that we're not going to sell to other people, but we really want to target this person and make sure that the content we have on our site really is going to appeal to him or one of the other 3 personas. And this would be awesome if you could be this targeted with your with your content. That'd be absolutely amazing. So if that seems a bit overwhelming, HubSpot has a free persona maker. It's pretty cool. They'll actually, they'll give you little cartoon people or whatever you want to use. It just takes you through like a little questionnaire and helps you build out some personas. And again, if you're writing marketing plans, business plans, if you're putting stuff like this in there, JJ, you're more of an expert on that than I am, but I would assume it would be a pretty either a requirement or a good thing to have in your business plan as you're pitching. So yeah, my wife does ask me this sometimes. I actually do have a projector in our bedroom too. So if you guys have questions.
Too much information, Mike.
Did I give too much information?
No, I'm saying your bedroom.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There's no pictures. It's just,
Yeah. So for the students, today there's a choice between DIY, right? They can do some primitive website design today, or they can subcontract it out to a consultant like yourself. On the DIY side, where would you recommend they start? Platform. So I WordPress is where I've been, but times have changed.
Yeah, good question. So obviously there's some personal opinion here. I've been using WordPress for 15 years and I can't stand to use it anymore. It's like, it was such an improvement. In the early days, sites were written like hand coded. So it was a big step ahead. But yeah, when I have clients now or potential clients, I have a lady I'm working with now, and it's an absolute mess in there with all these random plugins and virus warnings and stuff. And she doesn't know what that stuff is, and whoever built it for her is not updating anything. So I use Squarespace. So and the nice thing is it doesn't have any of that stuff. The hosting's built in. Site updates they do all that stuff. You don't have to update anything, so you're not worrying about getting viruses. The interface is really simple. It's really easy to use. Problem I've had with WordPress too is like you buy a template and you decide you really want to change some stuff around. Well, you just broke your template. You're starting over. It's just so time consuming. Squarespace is really easy to go in and drag and drop and like, well, I want a video here. No, actually, let's change that to pictures. And it's really easy to move that stuff around. So it's a little bit more expensive. I think it's probably $20 to $30 a month to have your website if you're going to do it yourself, depending on what level you want to be at. If you want to sell products and things, it's a little more expensive. But a basic site, I think it's probably under $20 a month. It's Squarespace. They also have like a free trial. You can go in, build your site, mess around with it for 30 days. I don't get a credit card or anything. I'm not an affiliate. I don't get anything for telling you this. It's just in my experience, all the stuff I've used, I really love Squarespace. And for email, Mailchimp. It's one of the biggest companies out there. It works well. It's pretty easy to use. It works with other platforms. It works with Squarespace. It's free at the beginning. And I think once you get over like 500 people, then it's like 15, 20 bucks a month once you get over 500.
Yeah,
So
I
really
think it's
budget
really,
friendly.
yeah, really interesting. So I've been a longtime user of Constant Contact,
Yeah.
and like WordPress, Constant Contact was a phenomenal solution, and it grew really, really big. And the interesting thing that happens with software that becomes popular, invariably, that's an older piece of software,
Yeah.
and it's not as effective as it once was. And then the other thing, you were talking about viruses and getting hacked. Those are exactly the tools that are targeted. It's the older, more popular pieces of software.
Yep.
So you're more likely to have your website destroyed if you have WordPress, simply because it's older and very popular. And I've had every WordPress website attacked, you know, and so you're constantly, on the defense doing repairs. And then as a novice, I'm not a professional like you. Uh, the end result is quite primitive. So, which brings up the next question. Uh, so our students are building business plans, and so I encourage them to budget uh, uh, annually for marketing. All right. And would it be possible for you to just give some budgetary numbers of on a simple website what they should spend on email marketing, maybe on Google AdWords? So they need to capture those costs in their plan. So just ballpark it, you know.
Sure. I mean, the easy thing to do is you can go to pretty much any site you would be interested in, like Squarespace pricing, and it'll tell you the actual pricing. But for a Squarespace site, it's probably about 200 bucks a year if you do it yourself, and then a domain, including a domain name and everything. So yeah, if
But
you do
what
it
if they
yourself,
but what if they hired a good-looking consultant like you?
so my plans, I kind of base it on the size of your site. Most of your students, like if it's around 5 pages, I do a little bit different. I don't charge to build a site, and I charge a subscription, and it's like 200 bucks a month for like a 5-page website. So, and that includes all the hosting and everything, but I build a site for you and make sure everything's set up properly.
Okay, all right. And then email marketing. Well, it's the cost, minimal as it is, for Constant Contact or Mailchimp. But then you've got to create content, and that's once again either do it yourself or you sub it
Yep.
out, right?
Yep.
And that costs real money.
Yeah, email is actually probably more expensive if you're doing it the right way. So like the platform like Mailchimp, like I said, it starts free. I'd probably budget at least like 20 bucks a month because if you want to do like the automated campaigns and things like that, you do need to be on a paid level. But like I'm on like a $20 a month plan, and I have like 600 contacts. So it's pretty reasonable. But if I build a template for you, it's like 400 bucks. So you could do it yourself, but it's $400 per template. Like I want a newsletter template, I want a single subject template. I charge $400 each, and I'm actually pretty inexpensive. So, but even with that, like you said, you're still providing the content, the writing, and any images you want to use. If you need to outsource that, then it starts to get writing copywriters. It's probably about $100 a page, or $100 per 500 words. And if you need like logo design or images, you're looking at a graphic designer that's going to be $50 to $100 an hour. Um, and even stock photos, it's harder and harder to find stock photos you can use for free. So you want to budget for that, probably at least a couple $100 a year. Yeah. So is that a good answer?
Yeah, that's a pretty good answer. By the way, on photos, you need to have photos that you're allowed to actually use.
Correct.
So you need to make sure you have the rights to use them. One way would be to use your own photos, all right? The other would be to go to one of the photo archives and purchase the rights. You got to be careful. The photos that you drag off of Google Images, many have viruses, by the way. And you have to have permission to use them. And nobody does. And guilty. I do the same thing, on Instagram, but you got to be quite careful. Now, Google
Mhm.
AdWords. Uh, I'll toss it to you, and I have an answer. Why don't you go ahead first?
Using Google AdWords.
Uh huh.
Well, one quick other thing on the pricing. If you want, I have pricing on my website. A lot of designers don't, but if you want to like, hey, what did he say? But all of my prices for email marketing and website marketing, if you need that for your plan, um, Google AdWords. So I have a hierarchy of digital marketing. So the base, what you start with is your website, because that is where people convert. That is where people become your customer. That's where they click on the call to action and hire you or buy something. So you need to make sure your website is taken care of and is built for conversion. I know people, they spend money on Google Ads and they're sending people to a website that's terrible. It doesn't have a call to action. You're just throwing money away. So you start with making sure your website's built for conversion. And then obviously, email integrates with that. So I always say start with your website and then email marketing. I know it's old fashioned, but everybody still lives in their inbox. Even if you're signing up for the coolest new, TikTok or whatever, you're putting in your email address. That's what your account's based around. So it's still things that still revolve around email. So make sure and integrating the email campaigns into your website. So those start with the website, then email, and then I would put in social media, because that is a way to get yourself out there, and even kind of create your own ads without paying for it. Obviously you can pay for paid ads on social media too, but I try to make sure you're using those things, or if your website, if you're blogging, share every blog post out to social media. So that's really how I got a lot of that traffic. I didn't just publish it, I also shared it on my social channels, and it cost me time and it didn't cost me money. And then if you're like, hey, I still got some money left, then do Google Ads. And as far as Google Ads, the nice thing is it's math. You can see I spent $1 and I made $5, or I spent $1 and I made $20, or I spent $1 and I made 50 cents. So that's the nice thing about Google Ads. You're essentially just buying traffic, and it's just kind of a math problem. As far as how much you want to budget for that, it really depends on your product. And I will say one thing with Google Ads, um, beware of seasonality. I've been with companies that have gotten burned on seasonality, because we're spending $5,000 a month, we're getting all this business from it and boosting it up. And actually, this happened right before I got there. Thinking this, with this company, it was August. They went from 5,000 and it kept going up. In August, we're going to spend $30,000. It was free web conferencing software like Zoom. That month, they got almost nothing back on it. And they did a little research and saw that their competitors have backed off too. So we don't know exactly why, but for some reason in August, it's just not a good time to buy ads. So if you're like in your first year, like really, do some research, maybe look at other companies, because Google Ads it works, but it's also a way you can really burn through a lot of cash pretty quick. So that's my opinion on it. And I don't do Google Ads, man. I really don't like messing with that stuff. But I can
Yeah. So
connect you with somebody.
I give you an A for your answer, Michael. And so clearly, the organic approach to marketing is where the action is, right? And you earn your customers' uh, um, rewards, and that happens over time with blogging, with the right website, and all the organic ways to create SEO. Yes, you can go paid advertising. That's what Google AdWords is. It's advertising, and it can be incredibly effective, and you can positively waste a ton of money too.
Yep.
And so there are certain industries, certain categories that are better served with Google AdWords, but the majority, I would say no, right? And you got to be so careful. And it is a math exercise. And if you're not getting rewarded, you're doing something wrong. You got to change it or you got to stop. So now
Yeah,
Google,
and they work together too. It's not really an either or.
right?
I would focus on the organic content, all the stuff we talked about today first, because that's, if you have an ad, you still want, like I said, you want to send them to a good website, to good foundation that's going to convert people on the money you're spending. And it can help boost your traffic. There is a place for, like you said, depending on your business, there is a place for it. I've seen success with it. I used to run a hockey e-commerce website, and we had like a 6 to 1 ratio. So meaning every dollar we spend in advertising, we got about 6 times that back. So in that scenario, that was definitely worth it. But you got to know your numbers, and and I would recommend working with somebody that's what they do, because it's tough to do it on your own too. You don't usually, if you work with a company too, they use a lot of software and tools, beyond what you can see in Google, that helps them plan and really see what's working and what's not working. And if you're just going in there by yourself, like I have, it's like, I don't know, let me try this. Let me spend $100 here, $100 there, and see what happens. So
Oh, flipping it back to the class, do you guys have questions for Michael?
I have a question. Michael, I know we were talking about Squarespace for websites.
mhm.
Do you have any opinions or any thoughts about Wix?
Yeah, people ask me about Wix a lot. I've played around with everything. And then sometimes I go back again, like, well, maybe it improved, but every time I've gotten into Wix, I have not liked it. I have not liked it. Just seems very limited on what you can do. It's a little clunky. I'm not an expert on Wix, so take it with a grain of salt. That's my opinion. But yeah, and I've had clients that, hey, I want to do this, and I have a Wix site, and we've tried to help them, and it just doesn't work, and it doesn't necessarily play well with others. Like Squarespace works very well with other platforms too. Like there's Acuity scheduling, there's a Mailchimp integrations.
Okay.
So it's for a few dollars more. I think it's probably worth it. But again, it depends on your situation. I've used like Weebly, is very basic and free. And we had a hockey team doing a tournament, and I just want to put the rosters and stuff on there. So little stuff like that, it's fine. But if it's professional, it's how it looks too. Like, when you're on a WordPress site, because they all look the same.
Yeah. I hate WordPress too.
Squarespace, like, you can tell sometimes, but you can really customize the design a lot and make it yours. So that's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of Squarespace from what's out there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And I just had a quick question. But what do you think about Shopify? If you're running like an e-commerce website, do you like that interface? Is that simple? And like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, for what's out there now, I usually recommend Shopify. BigCommerce is a close second, and I have some clients that, they're like, yeah, they prefer it much over Shopify. They're pretty similar, but BigCommerce and Shopify, absolutely. And that's what I recommend to people. I've built some sites on Shopify. It has some little things you got to learn. But, like I said, I used to work for a hockey e-commerce company, and it was all built from scratch. And so what you can do now, like going to Shopify, the other cool thing about Shopify or BigCommerce is that, again, they integrate with all these tools. They're big players in the market. Any software you're considering, try to go with something big and established that's not going to disappear. And they also tend to play well with others if they have any kind of app store or directory like Shopify does. So like, you can build your page and then say, okay, I want to add reviews, and you just add a reviews widget or add a questions widget. When I worked for the hockey company, we spent like $50,000 to add reviews and another $50,000 to add Q&A and stuff like that, because it all had to be built. But now Shopify, some of those are free, or it's like, $10 a month to add it. So yeah, I highly recommend Shopify. And I don't do those anymore because it's a whole nother animal. I really want to focus on, what I do. So yeah, when people want to do e-commerce, so the sites I build, you can, in Squarespace, I don't really recommend for e-commerce. You can sell products on there, but it's not built for that. And Shopify is the other way around. It's built to sell stuff. It's not really built to be blogging and all that kind of stuff. So people have like, a few books or just a couple, I'd say under 20 things they want to sell and they want to add it on their Squarespace site, great. But yeah, if it's a store, if you're like Amazon or you have products and you're just selling products, it's very transactional, then yeah, Shopify is great or BigCommerce.
Sweet. Thank
That
you
was a
so
long,
much.
that was a long answer.
Yeah, but that was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, and after this, guys, even if it's like Shopify or something, I'm happy to help you guys or steer you in the right direction, or you're trying to do something, or you're trying to decide what to use. You can just shoot me an email and, I'll let you know.
Very cool.
No charge.
Well, that's an incredible offer. And what I will suggest to the students, if you hear someone who's looking for help on a website, looking for a consultant, a designer, well, why don't you do an introduction to Michael? How's that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's how he makes his living. If you could forward me the PowerPoint or the PDF, I'll post that on Titanium for the students.
Okay.
And embedded in that, of course, will be your contact information, right?
Okay. And you
Yeah.
want it as a PDF or PowerPoint?
Either way works for us.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, cool. Any last questions for Michael? So Michael, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.